Burası arkadaşlar Evrik kasabasının tam karşısındaki otoban geçişi.
We know that it was highly combustible and there were concerns that it could be an even worse explosion. But we do know that there are more concerns that there are other chemicals that were carried in those railway cars. And it's adding to a list of concerns and mistrust that residents have in East Palestine, Ohio, about returning to their homes. Is it too soon?
Yeah, you're under arrest. Under arrest. Excuse me, sir. Oh, sir.
Oh my God! You guys, this is bad. Stop.
I am on the ground. What are you trying to recording? Okay,
Stop resisting! Stop
You're
this!
under arrest.
Oh my God! Stop! You want to get this? I will. This is so bad.
Put your leg on flat. Lay flat. Lay flat, please.
You guys, he's a national correspondent. You cannot do this.
I'm a reporter with News Nation. It's all being recorded right now.
Let's talk about the trail derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. East Palestine's about an hour north of Pittsburgh, almost halfway to Cleveland. Norfolk Southern has a rail line that goes right through town, and this derailment happened right on the edge outside of town on the border of PA and Ohio. Of the cars that crashed, 5 of them contained vinyl chloride. It's a monomer used to make PVC. The reporting on this has gotten vinyl chloride confused with polyvinyl chloride, the polymer made out of vinyl chloride. Now, the reason that this distinction is really important is vinyl chloride is very hazardous and very flammable. Polyvinyl chloride is a plastic that's used in like everything. The other thing about vinyl chloride is that it boils at 8 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's shipped in its liquid form. Meaning that when these trains crashed and these started leaking, they weren't just leaking liquid, but they were spewing boiling gas. So vinyl chloride is really toxic. OSHA has the permissible limit of how much you can be exposed to it during an 8-hour shift as a 1 ppm part per million, average over 8 hours. So prior to this, the biggest spill of this chemical was in New Jersey, where 1 train car and about 23,000 gallons of vinyl chloride were spilled, but it didn't catch on fire. Now, this crash in Ohio has 5 train cars. These kinds of tanker cars can carry between 25 and 33,000 gallons. Let's call it 250 to 250,000 pounds of vinyl chloride. That's per train car, 5 train cars. There's maybe 1 million pounds of this toxic chemical spilling into the ground and also boiling off into the air. But then it caught on fire. I think this is where the reporting is really bad because no one is mentioning what the byproduct of vinyl chloride burning is. Of the many byproducts of burning vinyl chloride, one of them is hydrogen chloride. Hydrogen chloride is really unstable and latches onto water, like just water vapor in the atmosphere, and that turns into hydrochloric acid. So right now, government officials from the railroad, both the governor of Pennsylvania and Ohio are calling burning off the 1 million pounds of this stuff a success, but not mentioning that it means that we have hundreds of thousands of pounds of acid in the air, potentially. Now, ever since engineering school, I've studied a lot of industrial accidents. I just find it really fascinating, and organizations like the Chemical Safety Board, NTSB, and OSHA all have like really good reports available to the public. I think as a designer, it's really good to learn about mistakes. When looking at these kinds of industrial disasters across time, there are a couple things that are pretty universal across all of them. 1, the responsible party, in this case, Norfolk Southern Railway, always plays down the reality of the situation. Politicians also just repeat the same lines, and then news outlets just repeat the same. So all we're hearing is the responsible party's word.
So I walked up to the cage, and this is what I found.
Amanda Brashears was going to feed her 5 hens and rooster this morning when she discovered them all lifeless, practically in the same position, with no signs of a predator entering their enclosure.
I'm beyond upset and quite panicked because they may be just chickens, but they're family.
Brashears says her chickens were alive and well yesterday. She believes the smell following the detonation of the train carrying chemicals that derailed in East Palestine is to blame for her birds' sudden death.
My video camera footage shows my chickens were perfectly fine before they started this burn. And as soon as they started the burn, my chickens slowed down and they died. If it can do this to chickens in one night, imagine what it's going to do to us in 20 years.
Yeah, and actually, I'm trying to avoid sensitive areas here. I'm going to zoom out real quick, but it looked like there was 2 pieces of what a cab was, and I can actually try to point it out.
After a truck crashed, spilling nitric acid all over the road, Pima County officials have directed everybody within a 1-mile radius of the spill to shelter in place. There was no estimated time to reopen the road, and we're going to keep you guys updated.
What is this strange gas? Oh, overturned something. Can't see.
cancer-causing chemicals and products for sale on the grocery store shelves. Scientists tested a variety of common items and found disturbing results.
Action News Jax investigator Justin Gray is live in Washington. Justin, the same deadly chemical lawmakers are working to keep out of drinking water can also be found in food packaging.
John, the scientists tested for elevated levels of fluorine. They say that means that the product was likely made with the dangerous, potentially cancer-causing chemical PFAS. Microwave popcorn, dental floss, even cake pans. Researchers tested in-house products from supermarket giant Albertsons, owner of Shaw's, Safeway, Acme, and more, and found signs of PFAS chemicals. We've told you before how PFAS chemicals can get into the water supplied from firefighting foam and cause cancer and liver disease. But the group Safer Chemicals Healthy Families warns those same dangerous chemicals can also be found in the packaging in groceries, which can seep into the
You murdering Bill Gates! You have blood on your hands! You have blood on your hands! You murdered We know who you are, you murder! Arrest Bill Gates! Arrest Bill Gates! Arrest Bill Gates!
State Street, that great street, I just gotta say, what happened? All the stores have gone away. Say, I grew up, born and raised in Chicago, and I can honestly say, I never remember a single time where there was an empty storefront on State Street or Michigan Avenue. State Street. Back to back to back to back to back to back to back. Empty. This is all empty. Jimmy John. It's all empty.
Let's go. No, stay down.
By now, many of you have seen this image already. Will Smith and many others posted it. Say, man, this is a sign. I need to get right with God. Listen to me. This is a sign. God is not playing around. This is not an accident. A lot of Christians will try to downplay it. They don't want to believe we're living in the end times. I told you guys a couple months ago, the fear of God is about to come back on the church because God does not like, watch this, the image of Jesus that we have created in Christianity in America and even in England where they want to change the pronouns of God. God is not pleased. And we want Book of Acts power without Book of Acts consequences. People faking deliverance, faking prophetic words, using Christianity to build their brands and businesses and not actually being a Christian, not actually taking the cross. We made Jesus into this hippie where he just loves everybody. He's just accepting, everything goes. He doesn't correct anything. There's no controversy when you preach Jesus right. A bunch of nonsense, and God is sick of it. And he said, boom, I'm highlighting this right now. And I'm telling you, I'm giving you a warning. Just like in the book of Acts, people were dropping dead. You can't fake that. You can fake prophesy. You can do a lot of that other fake stuff. But where we're going, people ain't going to be able to fake it. I'm going to talk about this more in depth on YouTube, but y'all better wake up. Don't play with God. This is serious.
Good girl, Kate. Good girl.